Hey there guys, I'm Christopher, and welcome to this, the latest episode of Christopher, Barons of Gaming. Today is the 27th of May 2014, the release day for Watch Dogs. Now, this is one of the most heavily anticipated games of 2014. In fact, I would actually go as far as to say 2014 and 2013. So I went to the midnight launch at EB Games last night, picked up my copy here, which is the Vigilante edition. So most people that I saw got the great big collector's edition, but I didn't go for that one. I got the one with the hat and the mask instead. And I've got to say, first off, the hat is really cheap and nasty, unfortunately. I wish it was higher quality, because really what Aiden has in the game is a really high quality hat, and this is just about 1 cent. Whereas I will say that the mask itself is actually of a higher quality, which is good. So at least I got something out of it. Got lots of really great downloadable content and all that sort of thing. So for a special edition pack, it's really not too bad. Now the game itself, I haven't had a lot of time to play it yet. I'm about 5 hours into it. And I've really got to say, I've discussed it with a few game reviewers, and I have to say I'm not actually that happy with it at the moment. I found that the hype that came with this game was just exactly that. It was hype. There are a few things which are really good, really unique. The hacking system is quite interesting, but it is very complicated and fiddly. I do have to say though that after playing GTA 5, the driving just is intolerable. The combat is intolerable. The physics of combat is terrible. So if you shoot somebody in the leg, they just die, because there's no particular part of their body which reacts in a different way from any other part, which is terrible. I mean, this is basically like going back to PlayStation 1 games, I think. It really is not a very good thing. With the driving, if you crash into something, damage takes a long time to come through. So for instance, I tested this. I drove as fast as I could into a brick wall. I crashed, not a single scratch at all. Then I've also got to say that the very first time I hacked some traffic lights, all the cars were stopped around the traffic lights. I hacked it so all the lights went green. All the cars drove into each other and went boom, bang. Oh, sorry. Boom, bang, and just like a little bonk, little bump, and they all exploded. And it's just way over the top. Everything seems to have been underdone or overdone. And for a game like this, it seems to me that, this is a next-gen console game. It seems to me like they've actually aimed to do it for the least a powerful machine, the lowest common denominator, which of course would be really the Xbox 360. But in saying that, I don't know. I mean, maybe this would be better on a previous gen console, because it seems to be like they've got the physics from a PlayStation 2 or an Xbox, just plain Xbox, and then added the graphic content. Now I've got to say, graphic wise, after playing a couple of games recently where it really proves next gen graphics are just amazing, like Infamous Second Son and the new Wolfenstein, I've got to say this one just lacks completely. All the developers and the producers said that this game was going to be the most graphically intensive game that we'd ever see. That's why it was delayed, because it blew up a PC and blew up another PC then, and just really was so powerful. It's not. It really isn't. To me, I think The Last of Us, which is not the most graphically intensive game, looks better than this. And it's half the resolution, or sorry, I should say 2/3 the resolution. I also really think that a lot of the things they've discussed in their videos and their trailers just aren't coming true. So, combat, as I said, is really lacking in this game. I mean, it's best to avoid it completely, because it really is just astonishingly bad. and the driving, which I was really looking forward to, is dreadful. Now, of course, I'm a little bit used to playing GTA. I'm used to having those absolutely perfect physics. But in saying that, I've played other games. I've played other games by different developers and publishers. So, for instance, Square Enix, Sleeping Dogs. It's great. There's definitely damage in the vehicles there. They don't handle necessarily in a truthful manner, but they still handle relatively well. But in this game, they just don't. They really just don't. I'm playing it on the PlayStation 4. Now, obviously, this game has been designed to an extent for the PlayStation 4. I think more so than Xbox, mainly because the publicity-wise, nearly everything is PlayStation 4 for it. But I'm just dreadfully disappointed with the fact that it's not what they said it would be. So you might ask, what would I rate Watch Dogs? Well, until yesterday, I would always say 10 out of 10 because it looked so absolutely awesome. Although I do think it's a little bit early for me to give a proper rating, but I'm going to say at the moment I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I don't think it deserves any more than that. And I really have to say that, you know, all the hype about it blowing up PCs and things like that. Now, anyone who has a PC knows that doesn't really matter what hardware you have. I mean, of course it does matter a little bit, but if you have the top of the range hardware, it's the software which really, really pushes your machinery. So you can have a game which has dreadful graphics, really, really low resolution stuff, and it will work your graphics just so much they'll nearly burn out. Then you can have games which have incredible graphics, are doing so many things all at once, and they don't do much. They don't use much power at all. Now, I think that's actually the engine for this game. I think the engine in Watch Dogs really is lacking enormously. I think that what they promised us is just not there. And I do have to say that Chicago seems very, very empty. I keep getting the feeling that it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and that's it, because I was walking down the street and I managed to count a total number of 4 people. That's right, the whole of Chicago had 4 people walking down the street in the middle of the day. There are a couple of cars here and there, but there's never much traffic. And really, come on guys, this is a big, big, big game. It is the biggest game of this year, pretty much, and nothing's been promised. You know, it was held back by 6 months because there were issues they were tweaking. They didn't tweak any issues. I think it was a marketing ploy, really, because it seems to be lacking just so much, and I am really disappointed because I really, really want to love this game. So I've given it my rating there. That might change. As I said, it will be a preliminary rating because I really haven't played enough of it yet. But I mean, this game might get better, but it's definitely no GTA. It's definitely no proper sandbox game. And I'm really, really surprised they didn't use the Assassin's Creed engine for at least the physical movement of the characters, but they don't. The characters just don't communicate to each other. It's not like, again, like in Grand Theft Auto, where 2 cars just have an accident in the street and people get out and start to fight. In this, I saw 2 cars have an accident, massive sparks blew up, and of course there was no damage to the vehicles, and these 2 people got out, they started to say, oh, you hit my car, no, you hit my car. They got back in their cars and drove off again. And that really doesn't do anything. So I really think this game seems to have been rushed enormously. And it's the sort of game that I'd expect to come out not on a next-gen console, but I'd expect it to come out on a release of a console, maybe, as one of the things they're just tossing out, maybe as a freebie or something like that, but not as a AAA title game. Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein game, absolutely fantastic. I really, really am a big fan of Wolfenstein. I have been ever since Wolfenstein 3D, had that on my Mac and really, really loved it. Obviously, you know, it's flat level by level sort of thing, and things have progressed a long way since then. But I really have to say that this latest Wolfenstein is a beautiful game.
So much has changed. I've been gone for too long. us to the bomb. No one knows how. The world was forced into submission. They took our freedom. Tore down what took centuries to build. They terrorized the world with their power. Enslaved millions. Uprisings. Rebellions. Resistance. Crushed beneath an iron boot. They're stealing our future. Flaunting their might. They think the war is over. But they're dead wrong.
I've got to say the physics of this game are really, really good. The combat is excellent in the way that everything around you sort of becomes part of the combat. If you shoot someone in the leg, their leg gets sore. If you shoot someone in the head, they die. You know, it's really good combat. The game itself is really good. It has 2 timelines, which is really awesome. So I've played it through on one timeline, about halfway through playing it on the second timeline. I think the whole idea of it being set in the 1960s is awesome in a Nazi-run 1960s. So it really does encapsulate that whole idea of what would have happened if the Nazis had won the Second World War. And you find little Easter eggs here and there which are just great, like for instance finding the Beatles, the German version of the Beatles, and you get to find the record of House of the Rising Sun sung in German and things like that, little bits and pieces here and there which really are just fantastic. And I've got to say that this game is excellent. Now, it's not just a shoot 'em up, it has emotion in it as well. Now, keeping in mind, guys, this game is for adults. It is certainly not for children. It has lots and lots of things in it which are really disturbing, but that is what Wolfenstein is. But overall, I'm very, very happy with this game, and I'm actually going to give it 9 out of 10. Now, the last game I'm going to talk about today is Tropico 5. Now, this is another game that came out for PC in the last week or so, and look, I'm a huge fan of Tropico 4, have been for a while. Really great political strategy game, good sense of humour and really good fun. Now, Tropico 5 is very similar, except for the fact that it starts in about 1800 instead of about, in fact, exactly 1951. So instead of being a Cuba-like nation with Castro as the leader, this time there's a whole dynasty. So you have to basically create a dynasty of 10 people. So you start off as just a governor of an island ruled by a king, and so then you can break away from that eventually and start your own government. Now, it really does work in a very different way. It uses very different power essentially from the PC, but the game itself is more about sort of building your nation rather than just being a political leader. Now, I do have to say that in the space of 2 hours, my PC, which as you may know is a very high-end PC, crashed 5 times while playing this game. So I think it really might need a bit of a patch to clear up a few issues, but otherwise it's really not a bad game, and I'm having a bit of fun with it. It's a bit repetitive, but overall it's not too bad. So I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Well, that just about does it for this watchdog special of Christopher Barons of Gaming. Now, you can find us on the internet by going to iTunes for the podcast. So just go to iTunes and look up Barons of Gaming. You can find our website, which is www.baronsofgaming.com. You can find me on Instagram at Christopher Barons of Gaming, all one word. You can find John on Instagram at John Barons of Gaming, all one word. You can find us on YouTube, which I hopefully think you've already done, at Christopher Barons of Gaming. Now, until next time, I've just got one last thing to say, which is keep on gaming.